Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it. It's a lightsaber. I don't really do Star Wars stuff. I'm not the biggest Star Wars nerd, but this company reached out to me. They are named DamienSaber. Apparently they're a popular international brand of unlicensed lightsabers, and they asked if I would review their product. And I said, sure, I'll review it. No strings attached other than they provide the lightsaber and I review it for you guys how I see fit. So I'm going to go over it, and maybe you guys are into getting a lightsaber for yourself. It obviously doesn't function like a lightsaber, but it does light up and make noises, and it's kind of programmable, and it does some pretty cool things. So that's the general gist of it. I'm going to cut it up and splice it up as best I can so that you guys can see it functioning somehow, some way, because obviously I'm set up for, 6-inch action figures. And this is a whole lightsaber. So let's just dive into it. I want to talk about the handle first, or the hilt, if you will. It is incredibly well made, I have to say. It is aluminum. It feels like machined aluminum. But for the price point, and by the way, this one is, I think it's on sale right now for 120 bucks. And I think it's incredibly well done. There are a few things I will say I don't care for, but I'll talk about the good stuff first. The machine quality and the polish is really, really nicely done. All these little details that are a different color, that's just machined in there, and then I guess it's painted or anodized somehow. I don't know if you could anodize a certain spot like that, but the finish quality is very nice. There's no rough edges, no sharp edges. I thought these were going to be relatively cheap feeling, and it's really not. The hilt is wonderfully made from a craftsman standpoint. Now, the things I don't care for, I don't like the charging port being permanently visible all the time. Now, granted, once it's in your hand, it won't really matter. You won't be looking at the hilt while you're playing with your sword, but it is kind of an eyesore. There's a button on here that controls a lot of the functionality, and it has an LED, which you have to actually look at because it blinks to tell you how many times, like, based on how many times it blinks, it's going to do different things. So that's a bit of an oddity, but it's functionally very good. Like, you can do all kinds of stuff with this thing, but it's not necessarily the best looking thing when it's on display or whatever. And that's the same thing for these little set screws that are in here that hold the plastic part of the lightsaber into the hilt, which you can take out. And so that's a good thing. If you want to just have the hilt on display sometimes, you could do that. This one, by the way, I don't believe this is based on any Star Wars character specifically. It's just one I picked out because it looked cool. But they do have some that are, like I said, they're unlicensed, but they do have some that are fairly recognizable. So you can check out the website. I'll put the link in the description below. I get nothing for you guys looking at it or buying anything or anything like that. It's not like that. I'm just here to give you the review and the information, and if you're interested, you're interested. So those are my qualms that I have with the hilt. I don't care for those few things, but it is made exceptionally well. It's not one solid piece. It does come apart, so you can get to the battery and whatnot, but it's really well done. And I want to point out something that's really cool while we're here. I'll actually show you this. If you unscrew this back part, you can see it actually has a speaker with a foam surround and a cone and everything, like a full-on speaker, not just one of those little noise chips or something. It's a full-on speaker, and the sound this thing puts out is really, really nice. It has 3 different volume levels. I have it on medium right now because it's ridiculously loud. Not ridiculously loud, but it's quite loud when it's on full volume, and that's because of that speaker. Okay, so the other thing I don't care for, obviously you have to have a plastic tube for your lightsaber to glow, and I'll show you it glowing in a second. You won't be able to see much right now because all the studio lights are on, so I'm not going to bother. The thing I don't care for on the tube is the way they have done the tip of it, and I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that. It's actually 2 pieces, so it's a plain old tube cylinder, and then they have the cone on the end that fits into the cylinder, and it goes in about this far right here. And so there's a hot spot right there when the light is shining, and it makes a rather unfortunate sort of look. I don't know how else to describe that and be on YouTube. So it's just one light, which is actually surprisingly bright. I wasn't expecting it to be as bright as it is. It's just one light down here, and it lights the whole tube up. So it doesn't have much of a fading effect going from like hilt to tip, but it does have different effects, and the light does work really well. So that's the general gist of it in terms of the aesthetic and the craftsmanship and whatnot. It has a ton of functionality. It has motion controls. Obviously, the motion allows the sound to do different things, so it sounds like you're swinging, whatever, and I'll show you that in a second. But it also has different sound profiles so that you can make it sound like different Star Wars characters. There's a few other things on there, like you can make it sound like an actual sword. Like when you swing it or hit something, it sounds like an actual metal sword clanging. Very cool features. The motion features are pretty cool. It does have a firmware update thing, which I have not done and I'm not going to do because I don't plug things into my computer if I'm not 100% sure it's safe. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm overly paranoid about that. But you can update the firmware, you can change things. There's all kinds of features, and you can see that on their website, or if you buy one in the instruction booklet. But it does have a bunch of pre-built-in stuff, so that's pretty cool. Let me go ahead and turn it on, and we'll turn some lights off, and we'll see if I can show you anything. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Okay, so I have all the lights off now in the room, and I have no idea how this is going to work. I think it's going to work, but we're going to try it anyway. I don't normally film glowing swords. We're going to see how this turns out. So it has two ways to turn on to make it light up, to ignite the saber. One is to just press the button, and the other is to do a motion, which is to like shake it forward, and then like you're getting ready to attack somebody, I suppose, and then it will also turn on. But since we're here filming, I'm just going to press the button, and you'll hear the sound it makes. This is one of the options. Again, you can change the sound profiles to have a different ignition sound and then different swooshies and that kind of stuff. But this is one of the options, and you'll be able to tell what it sounds like generally, and then I'll show you some more. We'll see. Okay, so you can see it is nice and bright. It illuminates very well. Hopefully the sword's not too loud going over my voice, but that's just the idle sound. If you're a car person, you know what I'm talking about. And then of course when you move it, it'll make more sound. But I do want to point out that thing that I said was pretty unfortunate about the way the end looks. Because of the way that cone is designed, you get a very particular sort of look out of the lightsaber. And I gotta say, it's not my favorite thing in the world. That's what she said. So anyway, it sounds pretty cool when it's just idling, but let's go ahead and do some swings and you'll be able to tell. Okay, so hopefully that worked. If it didn't, I'm gonna have to film something else and do it separate. And then when you turn it off, it sounds like this and acts like this. So I guess it does have a bit of a fading effect. I'm not sure how they achieved that with the lights just being down here, but it did look like, I didn't notice that before, it did look like it kind of faded into the hilt. So that's pretty cool. So one of the other things you can do is change the lights to just about any color you want ever. It's basically infinite. So I'm going to turn it back on and I'll show you how to do that. So it'll just start to cycle through every color known to the human eye. Not really, but pretty close. And then you just press the button whenever you like where it is. And that's the infinite color mode. You can do it where it has just a bunch of preset base colors, and then that makes it a lot easier to just pick something. But I'll just leave it with blue. I know on camera it looks a little bit less blue. That's because of the lighting in the room. There's still some lights on, but that's how that works. So you can pick any color you want, which is pretty nice. It's fun to swing. Okay, so the other thing you can do is change the volume, because this is quite loud. I'm hoping it's not a problem for the video, but I want it to be loud so that you can hear the next thing I'm going to do, which is to change the sound profile. So I'm going to turn it off. So in order to change the sound profile, you want to have it turned off, and then you're going to want to hold this button in for a good 5 seconds. And it changes it. It has different names for the different profiles. Doesn't really matter what the names are. You'll figure out what they are when you have it. They're all unlicensed type things. But then when you turn it on, it'll make a whole different type of ignition and idle and swooshies. So let's turn it on. So I turned it on by just jolting it forward. That's what I told you about earlier. I think that's pretty cool. I like that a whole bunch rather than just pressing the button. But if you want to just press the button, you can do that. But then the sounds are a little bit different, and you can turn it off. I'm in a weird position. I'm in a weird position with the camera right here, so pulling it backwards sharply to turn it off is kind of difficult, so you saw it was kind of doing other stuff. But you can do that. Let's change the profile one more time.
The Dark Lord
That said the Dark Lord. So I'm guessing that's supposed to sound like Darth Vader's lightsaber. I never knew they had different sounds, really, but maybe that's a thing. So let's go ahead and turn it on. Oh yeah, it does sound different. That's pretty cool. Alright, that's pretty cool. So I like that. So we'll leave it set for that for this other feature, and obviously you're meant to be able to duel with these. I wouldn't go nuts because they are just made out of plastic partly, but when you hit them, they flicker. And it makes different sounds, so that's pretty cool. Now the thing is, the mechanism that registers impact is in the hilt. So if you're just tapping the sword and you're not doing it very hard, it's not going to know that it's doing an impact. So you have to whack it relatively hard or tap the hilt for that to happen. So that's one of the things. And the other cool thing is this button, while it's ignited, if you just tap it, it makes a laser deflection sound, and it also flickers. So if you want to pretend that somebody's laser firing at you and you're deflecting them as you swing the lightsaber, you just tap the button on your swing and it works. So there you go. Any other features I need to talk to you about? I don't think so. There's a couple other motion controls and things like that, but you'll look through the instruction manual. I'm not a salesperson. I'm not here to show you every little tiny feature of the thing, other than that they do exist and you can do them, and they are pretty cool. So let me get the lights back on and we'll talk about it just briefly, and we will go from there. Okay, so like I said, a little bit of an unconventional review, but I think these things are pretty cool. I really enjoy playing with it, which is not something I'm going to do regularly because it's still a fake lightsaber, and what are you going to do with it? But I think that's a given, considering it is a fake lightsaber. I really like the light up feature, not just that it lights up, they did a really good job with it. The only drawback is this tip, which, hey, DamienSaber guys, if you're watching this, that really needs to change. That looks way too phallic and doesn't look good having that ring of light right there, and it just throws off the look. Now, I did notice while I was playing with it, I didn't care. I didn't pay any attention to that. It's at the end of the sword, and I'm swinging it around having a good old time, not noticing. So that's okay, but even at the low price of $120 some, something like that, I think at the time of filming, it's not ideal. I can get past all of the stuff in the handle because it's covered up by my hands while I'm playing with it, so that's fine, but I can't say it's ever going to make a great display piece when you have visible set screws and USB. Granted, it's USB-C, and I like that, and they do give you a charging cord for it, but it does take away from the look. So I mean, I'm not going to give it a rating because it's not an action figure. I do really, really like the thing, and I think it's easily worth the money. I think the machining and everything that went into the handle and the light and the sounds alone, it's well worth the price, objectively. Subjectively, those few problems are problems that I can't ignore. The odd-looking tip and the different issues here are a problem for me, or are problems. I think if I was in the market for buying a lightsaber and I didn't want to shell out as much money as some of the other ones cost, this would be a perfectly suitable thing. If you want to buy one for a kid who's a little bit older but not too old, this would easily be worth it. You know, 120 bucks isn't that much these days. And this is a relatively functional, you know what I mean, lightsaber with slightly odd features, let's say. So yeah, I would recommend it overall, but you do need to be aware of those caveats because they are problems potentially for some of you, but now you know about them. So I've done my job. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.